my name is Carlos Uranga, and both my father and I decided to explore the Trans Siberian Highway. Was the main purpose of our trip. Obviously, logistically from California, which is the starting point. It was interesting. Right out, we had to find out how to ship 2 bikes with equipment and everything that's necessary to do basically around the world of the northern hemisphere. And we've done several rides together in North America, and this is pretty much completing the round the world trip for him. And basically, just started planning as of official planning when the trip was imminent. Started in April. And then, it's built up a website, a blog. It's also a social media site where people can become a member and share their experiences as well as see our experiences. We use a lot of neat technology. I'm an engineer myself, computer science. So I love using little gadgets like the spot tracker and the TTQV software to be able to basically track our route, plan our route and track it, and show a record of it, a digital representation of it. Just to talk about the preparation, obviously the main thing is getting this vehicle from point A to B, and point A to B was full circle. Trip planning, I at that point in time did not have a motorcycle other than the RS 1200. I wanted a more versatile all around the world bike. Not as heavy as the 1150 or the 1200, so I picked the F800 GS. I think it's an amazing bike. It has perfect power to weight ratio. As you can see, it's extremely overloaded, more overloaded than actually what we had it as. So it's all within spec, but it's amazing what this thing can do, this bike. So obviously wanted to protect it as well and make sure that it actually gets there. To be honest with you, Touratech has been my dad's favorite throughout the years. I know he outfitted his whole 1150 GS for the South America trip. It's just obvious in the quality. You can tell when there's certain fits when you're putting these things on the bike. I helped him, with his bike way back in the day, preparing it. And there's other competitors out there, but I think the close relationship with, if you're going to ride a BMW, especially in particular. I'm not sure about the other models, but I can speak about the BMW Touratech relationship. It looks extremely well done, and it looks like they just really put a lot of thought into each component. So when it came to planning, how we're going to fund this whole situation, obviously it's quite a large financial undertaking. I started contacting Touratech. I did contact Touratech USA, and they were very, very accommodating. Obviously, kind of last minute for them. That's kind of crunch time for them. It's the season. So they did what they could, and it was fantastic. I mean, they helped us out a lot. So one thing we wanted is to at least have one bike that's very well outfitted, particularly with the xenon headlight. We also got the full package with the fog headlight. Touratech USA was very generous in providing a lot of these stuff included. The protectors here for the shock absorbers, we knew we were going to go through rivers and have a lot of dust and a lot of things that could potentially score the shocks. And then, of course, the hand guards. These are unbelievably indispensable, as well as the panniers in a fall. We have the GPS mount, which is something that we decided on to get the older Garmin 276 or 376 is the one that we decided on. This mount is fantastic. It has a locking security. The radiator guard for rocks and preventing leaks. The oil filter protector and bash plate. I think probably one of the most essential pieces of equipment, so you're not stuck in the middle of nowhere with an oil pan leak. So we decided on the Ziga Pro pannier system, and mainly they're just a great all-around. We went for the more rugged version, not the more polished, nice looking, because we knew that things like this would happen. And first, to talk about the versatility, I mean, with the liners that are inside, they're like basically like little luggage carriers that you can pull out at a moment's notice, you can just pull that out and then start digging through your stuff versus having to, bend over and dig in, going to a hotel or whatever. Just an added convenience. We have footage of crossing a river, and we had the water at least up to here at some points. And at the end of the day, we pulled everything out to make sure, some of the electronics and gadgets weren't wet, and they were completely unscathed for that one of the more intense river crossings that we did. Right, the protection part, if it isn't obvious, this is where the hit happened, and that's where most of the force went. The good thing is that it provides the added leg space so that when you do a slide out, which will happen, and I think we did 3,000 kilometers off-road, had 10 or 15 falls at least. Always protected the legs for the most part. As long as you keep your foot on the peg, it's a beautiful thing. Yeah. So when we initially contacted Touratech USA, they, like I said, it was kind of last minute on our end, and kind of crunch time for them. The busier season, right around May, June, is when we had our final list of the items and equipment that we needed. And within a week or two, we had all the necessary equipment shipped. Yeah, no, they're great, Touratech USA. And my relationship with them, I mean, obviously, I thank them a lot for building a good product and also making this trip happen, really, because without this equipment, I don't think we could have done it. Okay, so just to, I guess, give a brief summary of the whole trip. Started in California, as we mentioned. We actually FedExed our bikes from San Diego directly to Narita Airport in Tokyo, and then met our bikes there about 4 days later. And from Japan, we did roughly around 2,000 kilometers in Japan, and the trek basically A to B is Tokyo all the way to Spain, and our route that we picked is through Japan to Sacaminato port, where we investigated the ferry costs and everything, and logistics customs to be able to import, temporarily import into Russia. And so the ferry was excellent, good price. They actually, helped us out in many ways. So they went from Sacaminato to Korea, brief stop in Korea, 5 hours, and then to Vladivostok. And then from Vladivostok, we had a brilliant customs agent that was recommended by the ferry company, which I think I highly recommend. So from Vladivostok, we went straight north, followed China, the border with China, to Khabarovsk, and then from Khabarovsk to Chita, and then we want to briefly go to Lake Baikal, and then from Lake Baikal down to Mongolia. Then from there we went straight to the Ural Mountains via the rest of Siberia. So the whole goal here is to follow as much as we could of the Trans Siberian Highway. And then so after Siberia, we traveled to Yekaterinburg on our way to Moscow and then St. Petersburg. So from there we followed down through the Baltic countries, through Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, and then Poland, and then in Berlin. I went south to Munich, and my plan is to finish all the way to Spain via Germany and France, visiting a lot of friends along the way. And that's pretty much it. That's so the A to B is Japan to Spain, and through Trans Siberian Highway. It was fantastic. Life experience.